Welcome to the Lion's Share podcast, where we break down today's most impactful research and bring fresh insights from the academic frontier straight to you.
Today, we are wrestling with a word that, I have to admit, usually makes me want to roll my eyes. It is plastered on every corporate wall, every slide deck.
Every LinkedIn bio. Innovation.
Innovation, exactly. It's the ultimate buzzword.
It really is. It's the kale salad of business terms. Everyone says they love it, but very few actually want to, chew through the reality of it.
And that's the tension we're starting with today. If innovation is this holy grail, why is it that for every company that successfully disrupts an industry, there are, a dozen others just spinning their wheels?
Or worse, burning through massive piles of cash on ideas that go absolutely nowhere.
Right. And that's our mission today. We are not just talking about cool ideas. We're breaking down a specific framework. It's a synthesis of some really interesting lecture material, some heavy theory on context, and a fascinating clip from Neil deGrasse Tyson. We're going to look at the specific levers that force market change. And then, and this is the part I'm really excited about, we're going to walk through a decision matrix that tells you if your idea is actually worth the risk.
We call it the imitability versus relatedness matrix.
Yeah.
I know it sounds a bit academic, but it's essentially a survival guide.
It's a reality check. So whether you're a corporate entrepreneur trying to pitch a new product, a startup founder, or maybe you're doing a DBA, this is for you. This is how you calculate the odds.
So let's start with the why, because the source material makes a distinction right out of the gate that I think most people miss. We tend to romanticize innovation. We think of, Isaac Newton under the apple tree, just waiting for inspiration.
Right, waiting for the apple to hit him on the head.
But the research says that's just nonsense.
Completely.
Innovation is rarely proactive in the business world. It's reactive. It's born from pressure.
The whole innovate or die scenario.
Precisely. The lecture material identifies a whole stack of these push factors, the drivers. And the first one, inevitably, is financial pressure.
Which sounds obvious. Of course, we want to make more money.
Well, it's not just about making more. A lot of the time, it's about survival. Think of it like the Red Queen race from Alice in Wonderland. You know the scene.
You have to run as fast as you can just to stay in the same place.
Exactly. Because the landscape is moving with you. Companies are in a constant state of war. Global competition means if you aren't figuring out how to make your widget cheaper or faster, someone in Vietnam or Mexico or Germany is.
So you innovate your process not because it's fun, but just to preserve your margins.
Right. Efficiency becomes a defensive form of innovation. You're just trying to stop your margins from evaporating.
But then there's the consumer side of it. The research highlights shorter product life cycles. This one really resonated with me because I was looking at my phone the other day. It's 2 years old, works perfectly, and yet I feel this itch that it's old.
That's the newness driver. The source material points out that consumers today crave change in their environment way, way faster than they used to. Look at fast fashion. It used to be 2 seasons a year, right?
Yeah.
Spring, summer, fall, winter.
Yeah.
Now, companies like Zara or Shein run 52 micro seasons a year.
52? That's a new season every week.
Every single week. So if the market demands a new model every week, your production system has to innovate just to keep up with that velocity. You can't use 1970s manufacturing timelines for 2020's demand. The pressure of newness forces you to completely rethink how you build things.
And speaking of the 70s, the sources brought up the rise of consumerism figures like Ralph Nader and how that evolved into what we see now with regulation and sustainability. Now, I can hear the cynics listening. Oh, companies only care about sustainability for the PR.
The research argues it's deeper than PR. It's about the social license to operate.
Okay, break that down. What does that actually mean?
The lecture explicitly mentions landfill pressure. Cities are physically running out of space for waste. Governments are imposing strict regulations. So if you're a company that produces tons of unrecyclable plastic, you aren't just facing bad PR, you're facing fines, bans, and eventually being regulated right out of existence.
So you innovate a biodegradable package, not because you're a hippie, but because you don't want the government to shut your factory down.
Exactly. It's a constraint that forces creativity. You innovate to stay legal.
There was one other big shift mentioned, the transition from secondary production to the service economy. Moving from making steel to writing code.
Or providing healthcare or logistics. When an economy shifts from manufacturing to services, the type of innovation changes. You aren't building a better blast furnace. You're innovating in teleconferencing, remote team management, or automation.
Right.
The lecture noted that as the West moved away from manufacturing dominance, the pressure shifted to automating low-skill jobs with robotics and enhancing high-skill jobs with better data.
So, okay, we have all these forces pushing on a company: finance, fast fashion, regulation, the service economy. But, and here's where I want to push back a bit. Innovation doesn't happen in a vacuum. You can feel all that pressure, but if the world isn't ready, you're just screaming into the void.
That is the context piece. The module on innovation in context is absolutely critical here. You can have a great idea, but if the technological readiness isn't there, you fail.
Give me an example of that kind of failure.
Well, look at the Apple Newton, a handheld tablet in the early 90s. Great idea, right? I mean, it was basically an iPad before the iPad.
But it failed miserably.
Because the context wasn't right. The handwriting recognition wasn't ready. The internet wasn't ready. The battery tech wasn't ready. Fast forward 15 years, the context changes, and the iPad changes the world. You have to look at market evolution. Is the customer need actually there, or are you just pushing tech?
Which brings us to the how. We know why the pressure exists. But let's say I'm a CEO. I feel the pressure. I have an idea. How do I decide to pull the trigger? Because the lecture material brought up a really interesting problem called the time lag.
This is the silent killer of startups.
The example they gave was the smart TV.
Right.
So technically, the smart TV is superior. It connects to the internet, streams 4K, runs apps. But the customer...
Well, they still have a perfectly good dumb TV in the living room. It turns on. It shows the news.
That is the lag. The customer might be mentally ready for the new thing. They want it. But they have sunk costs in the old asset. They aren't going to throw out a $500 TV just because a better one exists. Innovation has to account for that gap between I want it and I will buy it.
And there's the risk of bugs, too.
Mm-hmm.
The sources talked about how new software almost always needs a patch immediately. So as a founder, you have this tension. Do I launch early to beat the competition, knowing it might be buggy and people might stick with their old reliable tech?
Or do I wait and miss the window?
Exactly. That is the classic complexity problem. But there is a way to navigate this. And this brings us to the core framework we promised at the beginning.
Okay, let's unpack this. The imitability versus relatedness matrix. I am a sucker for a good 2x2 matrix.
It's a strategist's best friend.
I want you, the listener, to visualize this. Close your eyes. Unless you're driving, please don't. Imagine a square divided into 4 boxes. On the vertical axis, the up and down line, we have imitability.
It's a simple question. How easy is it for a competitor to copy your idea? High or low? Can they reverse engineer it in a week? Or is it proprietary magic?
And on the horizontal axis, the bottom line, we have core relatedness. How close is this new idea to what we already do?
High relatedness means we have the machines, the staff, and the distribution channels for this. Low relatedness means we have no idea how to do this. It's a totally different industry.
Let's walk through the quadrants, because this is where you see why some startups fail and others, print money. Let's use an example to make it sticky. Let's say I run a successful chain of coffee shops.
Okay, deep dive coffee. I like it.
Deep dive coffee. We make great lattes. But I'm feeling entrepreneurial. I decide I want to launch a crypto trading app.
Okay, wow. That puts you squarely in the high imitability, low relatedness quadrant, the danger zone.
Why? I mean, crypto is hot.
Sure, but think about the axes. Low relatedness because you make coffee, you don't know how to code a secure trading platform. You'd have to hire expensive new staff, buy servers, learn financial regulations. It's a huge risk because you have zero internal competence there.
And the high imitability.
Because there are already 1,000 crypto apps out there. The code is everywhere. It's a commodity. So you spend a fortune learning a new trade, and the moment you launch, you're just another icon on the App Store.
So my anticipated profit is basically zero.
Correct.
Yeah.
You should never, ever be in that quadrant. It's a vanity project.
Okay. Next scenario. I run my coffee shop, and I decide I want to farm my own coffee beans in a specific region of Peru using a proprietary patented grafting technique that I just invented.
Okay. That is low imitability. You've got a patent. It's hard to copy, but it's low relatedness. You are a barista, not a farmer. You don't know about soil pH or weather patterns or Peruvian labor laws.
So what happens there? What does that look like?
You might make a profit because you have a moat. Nobody else has your special beans.
Right.
But you will burn a fortune trying to figure out farming. The internal cost of learning just eats your margin. It's a really risky pivot because you're stepping too far outside your circle of competence.
All right, scenario 3. I decide to sell bottled water at the counter.
High relatedness.
Oh, yeah.
Super easy for you. You already have the shelves, the customers, the supply chain. You can launch that tomorrow. High imitability. Everyone sells water. The shop next door sells water. This is the sugar rush quadrant. You make a quick profit because it's easy to deploy. But competitors will swarm in, price wars will start, and your margins will drop to pennies. It is not a long-term strategy because you have no defense.
Which leaves us with a sweet spot. Low imitability, high relatedness.
The Holy Grail.
What does that look like for deep dive coffee?
Well, maybe you develop a proprietary energy drink blend using coffee byproducts, cascara, that you already generate. You bottle it using the machines you already own, and you sell it to the loyal customer base you already have.
So efficient execution, because I already have the stuff. That's high relatedness. Plus a defensive moat because they can't copy the recipe. Low imitability.
Results. Long-term profits. This is what Warren Buffett looks for. It's not just, is the product good? It's, is it hard for them and easy for us?
That is such a useful filter. Hard for them, easy for us. If you are an entrepreneur listening to this, write that down on a sticky note before your next pitch.
And it connects directly to business model innovation. We often think innovation is just the product, the shiny object.
Yeah.
But this matrix tells us that real innovation is about the business model. How do you protect the value you create?
I love that. And here's where it gets really interesting. We need to critique this because I'm listening to this and thinking, okay, play it safe, stick to what I know. If everyone followed this matrix, would we ever have truly radical innovation?
That is the big question, isn't it? If you only do high relatedness things, you only ever do incremental innovation. You make a slightly better toaster. You never invent the microwave.
We have this clip from Neil deGrasse Tyson that just completely flips the script on this. He argues that if you look at the history of exploration, the business people, the ones using a matrix like this, are never the first ones in.
No, not at all.
He compares Christopher Columbus to a venture capitalist.
It's a brilliant analogy.
I want to role play this for a second. Imagine Columbus walks into a VC office in 1492. He's got his pitch deck, he's got his tights on.
Okay, I'm the VC. I'm sitting behind my mahogany desk. So, Chris, what's the plan?
Well, I want to sail west.
Okay, where exactly are you going?
I don't know. Maybe India, maybe off the edge of the earth. We aren't totally sure about the map yet.
Right. Sounds risky. What's the ROI? When do I get my money back?
Zero idea. We might all die of scurvy. Or we might find gold. Ideally gold. But mostly, it's about the glory.
Yeah, get out of my office. Tyson calls that a 5-minute meeting. No business person funds that.
Exactly. Tyson says the first people to do the really expensive, dangerous stuff like going to Mars or mapping the New World are governments. Or royalty. They do the exploration. They draw the maps. They find where the trade winds are. They find the friendly fruit.
And only after the map is drawn, after the risk is quantified, does the business model come in. Tyson mentions the Dutch East India Company. They didn't discover the New World. They exploited the routes that were already mapped.
This distinguishes exploration from business. And I think we conflate the two all the time. We act like startups are explorers, but are they really?
Most aren't. Most are doing what we call exploitation in strategy terms, just optimizing a known path. Tyson's point is that business requires a known ROI. You cannot build a business model for a mission to Mars until the government has essentially de-risked the getting there part.
So if we rely too heavily on the imitability matrix, are we just discouraging the crazy ideas? Because radical ideas usually have low relatedness. They don't fit what we do today.
That's the danger. And that connects to the diffusion of innovations theory from the sources Everett Rogers. You have the innovators, the early adopters, the majority, and the laggards. The Columbus types are the extreme innovators. They don't care about the business model. They care about the newness. But a business needs the early majority to scale.
So how do you bridge that gap? If I'm a business, I can't afford to be Columbus.
Well, the source material suggests open innovation as a way to bridge this. Because companies can't afford to do pure Columbus-style exploration on their own. It's too expensive, the timeline is too long. They should collaborate.
Collaborate, how?
Open innovation means working with universities, research institutions, governments. Let them do the mapping. Let the PhDs figure out the basic science. You provide the commercialization. You provide the scale.
So you don't have to be Columbus and the Dutch East India Company. You can partner with the Columbus types.
Exactly. It spreads the risk. You let the government or the universities handle the low relatedness exploration, and you swoop in for the high relatedness exploitation.
This raises a key debate, though. The matrix basically asks, can we do this efficiently? That sounds a lot like relying on market pull. giving customers what they say they want, but doesn't true disruption come from technology push?
That's the eternal tension.
Yeah.
The matrix encourages market pull. It's safer.
But technology push creating a solution for a problem people didn't even know they had yet, that's where the unicorns come from. The iPad is the classic example again. No one was asking for a tablet. If Apple had done a focus group, people would have said, I just want a smaller laptop.
Right. It was high risk, low relatedness at the time.
But massive payoff if you survive the danger zone. The Matrix is a guide, not a law. Sometimes you have to break it, but you should know you're breaking it.
So what does this all mean for you, for our listener? We've covered the drivers, the matrix, the tension between exploration and business. Let's break it down into some actionable takeaways. Sure. Let's start with the entrepreneur. If you are inside a company trying to get budget for a new idea, use the matrix. Before you walk into that meeting, ask yourself, is this hard for us to do? And is it easy for them to copy?
You want to frame your pitch in the sweet spot.
Exactly. You want to tell the board, we can do this better than anyone else because of our internal assets and nobody can copy us. That is how you get a yes.
And for the founder.
Respect the lag. We talked about the smart TV versus the old TV. Just because your tech is superior doesn't mean the customer is ready to switch today. You need a bridge. You need to understand that mental gap. Don't run out of cash waiting for the market to catch up to your brilliance.
And finally, for the strategist or the leader.
Know what game you are playing. Are you mapping the frontier, which is a government or R&D function with undefined ROI? Or are you trading, which is about execution and margins? Don't try to apply a quarterly report mindset to a Mars mission problem. You will kill the innovation before it starts.
And conversely, don't act like you Columbus if you're just selling software.
Exactly. Yeah. That's a crucial distinction. Know if you are finding the fruit or selling the fruit.
Before we wrap up, I want to leave you with one final thought. We talked a lot about imitability as the key defense. Low imitability is the goal. You want a moat.
Yes, that is classic strategy.
But in a world of generative AI, where code can be written in seconds and ideas can be cloned instantly, is anything truly low imitability anymore?
That is the provocative question. If knowledge spreads instantly, the moat of secrecy is just gone. It might be that in the next decade, the only true defense isn't they can't copy it, but they can't catch us.
Speed of execution becomes the only moat.
Speed and perhaps deep human relationships. The things AI can't generate. If you're just relying on a secret algorithm, you might be in trouble. But if you rely on speed and trust, you might just survive.
Fascinating stuff. I'm going to go look at my to-do list and plot it on a 2x2 matrix.
See if you're in the danger zone.
I think I live in the danger zone.
Thanks for tuning into the Lion's Share podcast. If you enjoyed today's discussion, share it with a friend and join us next time for more ideas worth talking about. We'll see you next time.